Hello and welcome back to the Thinking Wealth podcast, your dynamic investment hub. Right, this is part 2 of the property investment part of our third podcast, I think it was.
I think so. This is like the introductory podcasts, really, innit? For
That's
what
it.
we're putting across here. And this is part 2 of the property investment one. We did half an hour yesterday. Check that out if you haven't seen it already. YouTube or podcast. And this is going to be part 2.
Right then, where should we start then, mate?
I think possibly or potentially, I was going to say, let's start with mindset.
Wow.
What do you reckon?
I think we did touch on it yesterday, didn't we? A little bit about the mindset and how property itself, investing itself, can be mentally a challenge. It's a bit of a roller coaster, isn't it, to use that horrible term. There's plenty of ups and downs. It's not for the faint-hearted. So yeah, let's delve into mindset.
It's a very complex thing because there's a lot of rubbish as well in that whole,
It's a part of selling the dream, isn't it, as well, I think, that whole
it definitely is.
Scene.
Yeah. And you can get lost in it all and like you can go on Tony Robbins events and all that stuff. And the vast majority of it is absolute nonsense, to be fair. But it's mainly...
Serves a purpose, though, doesn't it?
It does, but it's overcoming your own beliefs that you've got about yourself and about what you can and can't achieve.
Whether you're worthy or not.
Yeah, whether you think you're good enough and what conditioning the mind has had as you've been growing up. You know, whether you grow up in like, let's say, traditionally working class backgrounds, you have a different way of seeing the world and seeing money than if you've grown up in a, let's say, a wealthy or more upper class background. You generally don't have the same obstacles to overcome. And that's just the way sort of society presents itself, isn't it? All of it is a state of being, a state of mind, everything that you do in life. But when we're talking about property and investing in general,
Yeah.
everything can be done. There's nothing that cannot be done. It's just you.
Yeah, well, that's one of my mottos, isn't it? Like I always say, if somebody's done something, achieved something, that's proof that you can then go and do it.
Definitely.
Because if somebody's done that, then it's obviously proved that it's been possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose that in itself is a frame of mind, a mindset. So yeah, how do we delve into this then, Al? Personal development, mindset. What else can we talk about here?
Because when something's so broad that you can't really pick something because there's that much you can pick. It's something.
Let's give it a property context then, a scenario. That's a good idea. Why don't we go through your sort of most turbulent property experience? There must have been a few, kid.
What's the most turbulent property experience? That's a difficult question. I've always avoided things that I know I'm not very good at. I always put other people and pay people well in order to do that for me. So I always try and control, in a business context, what I'm good at, and then I sort of pass on the rest. So I'm generally speaking, I'm a trader with property. I prefer to buy and sell things and then only hold on to good stuff like good commercial property or something. So the worst things for me in my past is when I've had to deal with bad builders. And I bought a building just in the middle of Dudley, a little end terrace, and the refurbishment should have been done within 3 months tops, and it took 18 months because I had to get through 3 lots of builders before I actually got the thing complete. It should have cost me maximum 10 grand, and it cost me 18. So that's probably the worst.
That's not that bad.
No, that's what I'm saying, because generally speaking, I pass it all over to people and pay people. I could have probably saved myself thousands. Well, I could have done.
This is crossing over into another property buzzword here.
What?
Your power team.
Yeah. That's another buzz. If you get into the industry, that's everywhere, and a good power team.
But, we're taking the mick a little bit, but it's right again. We take the mick, but like a few of the things that we were saying yesterday, like legitimate strategies, but they're followed by these buzzwords that you hear all the time. A power team is essential, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Like you just say, you sort of keep and do the stuff that you're good at and that you can add value to better than others. And then you outsource the rest. The rest, rather.
Yeah. I mean, financing's another big one. You can have the rug pulled underneath your feet right at the last minute. I've had a lot of stress from that. Like, a deal should have completed within a couple of weeks, and the funder had pulled the plug on it, so I had to raise the money elsewhere. But once again, different personalities deal with stress different, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
So I might have a quick burst of stress for like an hour, and then the stress is out. Yeah. And then I'll just arrange everything to make sure it doesn't take over my life, like.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you could argue, tell me if I'm wrong, but you could argue that your experiences, not just in property, but business in general, have got you into this current frame of mind that you now sort of work in, which now allows you not to get het up, angst, worried, getting yourself into a poor mindset where things can start to unravel quite quickly.
Yeah, but that's a mindset thing again, and it's where's your own boundaries and where's your own barriers that you put up, so that, you know, what do you value most? If you value your family more than you value your business, then you shouldn't let your business affect you more than, you know, anything that's going to pull you away from your family, for example. If you truly valued your family over your business, you'd spend more time with your family than your business, wouldn't you? Yeah. Very often people's actions are different to what they think, you know, they value most. And if you don't have those boundaries around you and you know what you want out of life, then you can be dragged from pillar to post.
Should we have a joke about the 4 a.m. club?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's just a big... Well, you talk about that, it's just nonsense, isn't it? If you get up at 4 a.m, basically you're going to be more successful than people who get up at 6. But
I suppose it's all about quality of work, innit?
Of course, yeah.
And efficiency, as ever, in any walk of life, no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Efficiency.
Yeah. If you get up at 7, 8 o'clock and you do 4 or 5 hours of solid, intense, focused work, you'll get more done than 10, 15 hours of non-focused work.
We spoke, didn't we, last week? I turned to you, didn't I? And I said, I think I've found my sort of point in the day where I work my most efficiently and at my best, which is, at the moment anyway, is between 10 p.m. and 12 at early hours of the morning, where things have quietened down and I'm able to focus. So
10 at 12 at night, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, did I say morning? Sorry, 10 at night till obviously the early hours of the morning. That's where I found myself working at my best, most efficient.
I think that's because you unconsciously know that everyone's gone to sleep.
Yeah, maybe.
And you're not going to be stressed because the world's gone to sleep.
Yeah, I suppose we're all guilty as well of... there's so much distraction about these days as well, isn't it? We're all guilty of probably looking at our phone more, and it's, you know, far more times than we need to throughout the day.
Definitely.
And like you say, things have quietened down by that point. So yeah, maybe that's the big reason why. Right. I suppose that's touching on mindset. I think again, this is quite a popular area, isn't it? I would have thought there'll be modules done on this.
Yeah, definitely. All of this is a state of mind. The whole thing, like the strategies and everything, is you can pick those up.
You can learn it, can't you?
Yeah, it's the barriers that you put in front of yourself. They're all self-inflicted. None of them are real. You want to go deep into all this? Check out my other YouTube channel, completely free. I don't sell anything or whatever. Just go and check out my other YouTube channel. There's stuff about like avoiding anxiety and all that type of stuff on there. But all of this is a state of mind. It's a state of who you believe yourself to be. Because if you believe yourself to be a certain way, you sort of show up in the world as that energy, if you like. So, you know, check it. There's loads of people out there. There's umpteen people out there who'll you can go for personal development and make yourself a perceived better person.
Yeah.
Let's talk about let's do more of the power team, because you mentioned it. So when we say power team, we're talking solicitors, finance brokers, builders, property sources, so people who can find you deals, architects, agents, that's sales agents and letting agents. So they're generally what a power team. It's like who you have around you, your network, in order to make your business or your investment life a success. I suppose thinking wealth could be seen as a part of your power team as well, if you want to put it that way, because they're going to be around you and able to...
and the people within the community, of course, as well, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
So
what should we touch on here then, mate?
I mean, solicitors are always a good one.
They get bashed, don't they? And I think...
but they do deserve that a lot of the time.
They do, but I think also you've touched on it earlier on in the video about outsourcing stuff that you can't do. Well, you can outsource, obviously, the legal side of buying a house, for example, to any solicitor. But you can pay a bit more and get a better service as well. So I suppose what I'm trying to get to is you get what you pay for, don't you, to use that common phrase. And
if you want an answer within an hour from a solicitor, you're going to be paying thousands of pounds.
Well, this is it. That's what I'm trying to get to is you get what you pay for with a solicitor. You can pay, instead of paying on average, I'm guessing around £1,000 to buy or sell a house, you can pay 3,000, 5,000 and get it done a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm. But you need to understand that you pay cheap and you get cheap service. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say.
As simple as that. It's the same with anything.
Same with anything, yeah. Brokers, builders. I mean, brokers can be worth the weight in gold, can't they?
They can save you a fortune. It's not all about interest rates either.
No.
So people look at loans and they think the cheapest interest rate's the best loan. That's just not the case.
No.
You've got
fees, etc.
Introduction fees, exit fees. Is it fixed? Is it variable? And you have all these, different variables in loan terms, and I'd happily pay more fee to a broker if they get me the loan that suits the transaction. If I knew I was going to sell it within the first 2 years, I wouldn't be getting something with an exit fee within 2 years. Just common sense. But if you have an interest rate that's 2 points lower, you still might end up saving another, I don't know, it depends on the size of the loan, another 10, 15 grand, maybe more, maybe less, because of the lack of exit fee in the loan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's one example. Builders, wow, that's a big subject. That's my background really, in terms of my surveying background. Again, you really do get what you pay for with this side of things. You see posts all the time. I saw something the other day, I think it was yesterday. No context to this question whatsoever. Is my £3,000 quote for fitting a kitchen and bathroom a reasonable price? I mean, what a ridiculous question that is.
You can't answer it.
No idea on where in the country it is. Stating the obvious, but it's going to cost a lot more in the middle of London than what it is in Dudley.
Of course.
No idea on specification. No idea on the size of anything. So yeah, I think again with this, you want to try and find somebody that you can trust, somebody that you've maybe worked with before, somebody that you know will put out good quality work, because that's well, goes without saying, that's essential. Agents, so we're talking about obviously sales and lettings there, aren't we? Again, they're all a much of a muchness these days, aren't they? Sales agencies. You've got the online agencies that have come more and more popular over recent times. Have you had anything specific that you want to talk about with agents, Al?
I think most people go to sales agents to find like good deals, whereas if you use your noggin, you've got a lot of landlords who are with letting agents, so you can find a lot of deals from letting agents if you can build a relationship with them. So rather than going to sales agents who everyone goes to, if you go to letting agents who've got a huge database of landlords and just say, have you got any landlords looking to offload anything, you can pick up decent deals on there. A lot of landlords, don't forget, are a lot of accidental landlords. They don't some of them don't even want the properties they've been giving them through, I don't know,
passed down or
whatever. Maybe they bought one a few years ago and they've had enough of it or something. There's quite a lot out there like that, so you can buy good deals from agents. Brown envelopes work, whether people like to admit it or not. They say, it's immoral, whatever. We're not talking about morality here. We were talking about business and what works. If you build relationships with agents, 500 quid helps. It's as simple as that.
We're kidding ourselves if we said anything different.
Exactly. We're just telling the truth. We're not here to pretend these things don't happen. They most certainly do. Also, just build relationships. If it's a woman, buy her flowers or something if you do a deal with them, and biscuits and all that stuff. It all works. I mean, I generally speaking don't deal with many agents anymore, but unless they're commercial agents, but normal estate agents usually don't have that much to do with them anymore unless I'm selling. How about you?
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers it, mate. I mean, we spoke about HMOs, didn't we, a little bit yesterday. Obviously, there's all different ways you can get involved in property, and some do go down the route of even creating their own agency, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
And there is definitely a gap in the market for good quality lettings agencies that look after HMOs. Because they're very few and far between, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Because of the amount of work involved in looking after one. A hell of a lot different to looking after a single let.
Certainly.
With a small family in it.
Yep.
Who, generally speaking, don't cause you any problems whatsoever.
If you go into commercial property as well, a good letting agent is excellent because they get the best tenants and
from a business perspective as well.
Definitely.
The fees that they generate.
Oh god, yeah, fortunes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sources. I suppose this is one of the ways you just find
a little bit crossover a little bit there, haven't we, with what we've said?
Mm-hmm.
With the letting agencies, tired landlords, that's maybe a little avenue of attracting potential property deals.
Yeah.
And then you've got sources who are doing it directly for you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of rubbish out there again that you've got to be careful of with sources. They go on these courses, and there's a lot of people who just go on Rightmove now and then send the deal out to like a database and expect people to be paying $2 or $3 grand for
a fee.
Just for a property that's on Rightmove. That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
It must work. They must do, I don't know, if they send out 50 deals, they must get one over the line, which makes it worthwhile doing, yeah? Yeah,
I suppose I think this crosses over back to mindset again here, and personal development and responsibility, I suppose. It's all well and good these people passing a supposed deal on to you, but it is obviously your responsibility to do the due diligence on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to land on your head, so to speak, if the supposed deal doesn't pan out how you were promised it would do. I think that's very important to point out, because like you say, there is a lot of those people out there selling rubbish basically.
Yeah. It's not going to slow down with the more people that are getting into property. That's not going to slow down, so keep your guard up with stuff like that.
Well, it's something you can start as well, isn't it? With basically, I suppose you could maybe put some money down for doing a quick course on how to be a sourcer, but other than that, you can pretty much start straight away, can't you?
Sourcing?
Yeah, that's why there's so many people doing it.
There are a lot of regs now that people like you to go through. Like, you got to be registered with the ombudsman and all that. I mean, all that stuff. That's one of the things that would stress me out. Dealing with all that stuff,
regulation and that.
Oh, just whatever needs doing, just let me know, and then I'll do it as quickly as possible and get it out of the way.
Yeah,
because it's like it can take days, weeks.
It's the idea of the hold-ups and the paperwork and dealing with all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, incredibly unnecessary in my opinion.
It's a drain.
Oh, it is. It is a drain.
On your energy.
Yeah. And then architects, we've got written down here. I mean, architects, you generally deal with architects a bit more as you go through the journey, I suppose.
When you start developing, etc.
When you turning an office block into an apartment or something, you'd need the quality of a good architect there just to to hold your hand through the process, the beginning of the process. And then a lot of them have got good relationships with councils and stuff as well.
The planners, links in with the planning side of things, doesn't he?
Yeah. We're lucky that the HMO teams we've used in the past to develop stuff out have got their own in-house architects and stuff, and it keeps it all in-house, which is useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's move on to the 5-3-2 thing we do.
Yeah.
So we spoke about this the other day, didn't we? About there's like buzzwords and everything. We've mentioned a few of them. Well, there's one. We won't mention the company. You'll probably know if you hear it. But they talk about a 70-20-10, which is do a 70%. How would you describe it? 70%.
It's basically can't say the word.
Compartmentalising.
That's the one. Your sort of focus around three strategies. So obviously the 70% one being your main strategy, the 20% being your second strategy, and obviously the 10% being the one that you may be just touching on, you're just learning, but you want to get involved in down the line in the future. So you come out with our own equivalent.
5-3-2. And this all come about because I said to a friend here that I used to buy 5, sell 3 and keep 2. Buy 5, sell 3, keep 2. And that's what...
Snappy as well, mate.
Yeah, 5-3-2. So I always ended up with 2 properties in my portfolio for every 5 that I acquired, whether I sold that to another investor or whether I bought it, did it up and sold it. It was always that 5-3-2. And that was only for the first 3 or 4 years. But it worked. I don't do that now.
That's in line with how you started as well, isn't it? With trading, sourcing, that side of things.
Yeah. Sourcing was probably... Before sourcing was a thing, that was how we all sort of got into it, really, finding deals for other people.
That is a numbers game as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Churning out.
Yeah, man. It's very difficult to do that now because the market's so different.
Well, there isn't as many opportunities about currently, is there?
No. When I got into property...
Not for that type of strategy anyway.
Nah. 2012 and 2013, there was nowhere near the amount of people that was in it now. But that gives different challenges and different opportunities. It's easier to sell things now, so you can flip into a hot market, you make more money. Then
Absolutely.
You wouldn't make as much.
Right then, let's talk about how you can start now if you haven't got maybe large sums of money to begin with.
How would you suggest?
Well, there's a few, isn't there? Again, we're going to be speaking about famous, if you like, property... Buzzwords, that's what I was looking for. So, the most obvious one being rent to rent.
Yeah. And calling it what it is again, all you're doing is subletting. So you're letting a property, you're leasing it maybe on a 5-10 year commercial contract, and then you're subletting that out by the room. Very often these type of agreements break mortgage terms and conditions, whatever. That's up to you to mitigate that risk. We're not going to say do or don't do that. Obviously, we'd be naive to put in the public domain to say to break mortgage terms and conditions, but we know that this goes on in the marketplace, doesn't it? Because a lot of the mortgages are residential buy-to-let mortgages and don't allow subletting, but there's a lot of commercial mortgages that do. So, obviously, that's risks on your head if you go around with that.
Yeah. And
we can go into the ins and outs on the modules. Probably not a good idea to do that here, but
I think again this overlaps with what we've said previously about maybe a lease option contract as well with things like this.
Yeah, a lease option is merely a lease with the option to buy it. A rent to rent is similar without the option to buy it.
Right, yeah. So rent to rent, is that all we really want to say about that at this stage? Because we're going to no doubt speak about it more, like you say, in the modules.
This obviously, as we've said, these are just overviews. All we need to know here, all we need to discuss here, that you don't need a lot of money to get into property and start getting cash in the bank from it. Rent to rent is you lease a property off somebody and then you cut the property up, usually, and then rent it for more than what you're paying out. That's as simple as it gets. We can go through the details in the modules that we're going to release.
Yeah. Another stream that you could potentially look at going down is sourcing, trading deals. Yeah, I know you've got more experience of that than me, mate.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you sort of started out. Well, mine was sort of more buy-to-lets, then advanced into sort of HMOs, but you did a lot of sourcing to begin with, didn't you?
If you haven't got access to a lot of capital up front to be putting into deposits and things, then sourcing deals is a good way to get your feet under the table and really and learn as well.
Just about to say that, yeah, you can get your head into what is a deal basically and what isn't, and the mechanics around it, the figures, whether it stacks or not, etc., etc.
And your network grows exponentially from that as well. You get to you find a lot of people in the industry, a lot of investors who are cash rich, time poor, and you're potentially time rich, cash poor. So you can sort of work together, and you go out there and find the properties, and these people are the ones that will buy them off you. I don't actually know the average for sourcing fee. It used to be about £2,500 to £3,500 for a normal buy to let, but that's probably higher than that. I don't generally do residential, as we've said, small stuff anymore. So
yeah,
but you can do like if you've ever seen yellow boards on the public lampposts and everything, like we buy houses on them and stuff. They're not illegal, they're just frowned upon really. You're not going to go to prison for doing stuff like that, but just good ways to get the phone ringing.
Yeah, that sort of leads, not unless we want to touch on anything else there. I just made a note here to say, if you are starting out, it is good to go and obviously find the deals, and obviously if the deals stack and you do come across somebody that's obviously down on the time but has got plenty of cash to play with, then that's somebody rather you can target and work with and grow a relationship with. The example that you've just given there. So yeah, that probably then falls nicely into sales and negotiation. So your sort of bandit boards, as they're called, that you were just touching on there, getting in front, direct to vendor, as they say. Yeah. Getting in front of motivated sellers, basically.
When you get in front of motivated sellers, that's really when your knowledge and expertise come to fruition, because with agents, they tend to be very categorised in boxes. You can't really create certain deal structures unless the seller is quite business minded. It's very difficult to create transactions other than a straightforward purchase without finance or cash. When you're direct to vendor, you can use a bit of sales and negotiation techniques in order to create a deal that suits both of you. It's more difficult with an estate agent or a letting agent to do that.
Yeah.
The art of all negotiation really is if you can get the other side of the party to be happy with what you want to happen. That's essentially the art of negotiation.
I've seen you do it, actually.
Have you?
Yeah.
Where?
It's fascinating, actually. You basically ask what the selling party wants, and then you take that to the interested party, and that's it. You put them together, and if there's a deal to be made, it can be done quite easily, can't it?
There's a lot. You can buy 100 sales and negotiation books, but the be all and end all is that everybody's a human being, and we're just after. If we find out what both parties are after and we try and create that, there might have to be a bit of wiggle room here and there, but that's as simple as they all get. You don't need to be getting into, mass psychology in order to learn out what's going on here. It's just making
Simplify
sure.
it.
Yeah. It's incredibly simple.
I don't know. I think in theory it is, but until you've had a few experiences of that, I think that could be quite daunting.
But that's belief systems again, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And experience, obviously. And, same as anything. The more times you do something, the more comfortable you become doing it.
Exactly. Becomes unconscious, you just do it.
Yeah, it just happens.
It's like the questions that come at you are always the same. So it's like, if you're going in... what if this, what if that? It's like if you're going in for a lease option, for example, which we'll touch on the modules again, which is where basically you lease the property with a view to buying it. I think watch yesterday's or the last episode we did, because we spoke a little bit about lease options, didn't we, and what that was. The questions are all the same. For example, what if you die before the end of the deal? because the lease option might run for 5 years. So they might ask you the question, what if you die? And the reply to it, because it just becomes instant, is, well, what would you like to see happen? And then they'd say something like, well, we want to make sure that the deal continues. Or they might say, well, we want to make sure that our house comes back to us.
Out or, yeah.
So to satisfy that objection, all we have to say is, well, okay, providing that we can put that in the paperwork, is there any reason why we couldn't move forward today? And there's no barrier there that can be hit, because you've said, okay, no problem, we'll just make sure that happens. Now, you can protect yourself in the paperwork, but don't let the paperwork stop the deal. Do the deal and then figure out the paperwork after.
Yeah, I think as well, you quickly find, don't you, in these conversations, whether both parties do actually want to do the deal, don't you? Very quickly, I would imagine.
It's, within 100 words if there's a deal going to be done.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say at the beginning, don't waste your time with people who aren't going to do business with you. But often, just get the first 50 meetings out the way. Realise what you're good at, realise what you're not good at. Practice in your first 50 deals, which probably won't be deals. You'll probably mess them all up. But you'll learn more in the 50 meetings at the beginning than if you're just going to spend time on the phone or on Rightmove. You'll be better out there in the field learning.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's it's a fascinating technique, that strategy, and I think it's something you can draw a lot of confidence from, and you can use that moving on to the other things that we've already spoken about. I think a lot of this is confidence and good communication skills, isn't it? And you'll definitely get that from doing these types of deals. And again, the reason why we're speaking about this is because this is the sort of thing you can do straight away.
Trust is a big one when you're doing deals.
Yeah.
If people trust you, then they'll sort of do not what you tell them to do, but they'll
work with you, won't they?
Much more receptive. Yeah. And the way to build trust is to be you. Be able to pull away from a deal, or be able to pull away from a transaction and go, listen, I'm not that bothered if I do this or not, but just ring me, there's my number. And people sort of, I don't know what it is, but the people like that. It's like, he doesn't need to do this. He's just doing it to help me.
I think it goes back, nobody likes to really be feeling like they're being sold to, do they? Or
no, that's the art of selling.
And again, that comes back to trust again, doesn't it?
Yeah. A deal, actually, it isn't going to go ahead, but there was a guy who rang me from 8 years ago. He said, I met you in the Village Hotel. This was about, 3 weeks ago or something. He rang me and he said, hello, do you remember me? And I was like, I didn't have a clue. I was like, I'm sorry, pal, no idea. He went, I've got a property for sale down Hursthill, about a couple of miles away. And he went, it's got 6 mine shafts within 20 metres. Now, around this area, the Dudley and Wolverhampton, there's loads of mine shafts all over the place. And I was like, listen, pal, I ain't going to be able to do nothing for that property unless there's some serious discount, because you need to make me want to buy this. I really don't want to buy it. I need you to give me something to make me buy that. And by doing that, the power dynamic shifted from he's got a property that he wanted me to buy to I didn't care if I bought it or not. You have to now sell it to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it. And it come down, he wanted 180 to begin with. He said, I've had a valuation from an agent, 180. I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to offer you something because I'll be insulting. You come back to me with something. And he said 120 to me. Now, I'm still not going to buy it at 120 because I'm looking at 90 grand or something for 6 mine shafts in the garden. But, that was like a 60 grand. It could have been lying about the 180, but look at the discount in that.
To add a bit greater context to why you're having those conversations with him, is it worth saying why that's such a big issue?
Which?
For people that don't realise, who don't have mine shafts in their area, mortgage-wise.
It's finance. So as we said, I think in probably the first property one, again, what drives the real estate market is one of them, the main one, is financing, how easy finance is available. With mine shafts, a mine shaft within 20 metres of the boundary, the loan to value gets radically reduced on average by every single lender. So if he's got 6, that'll be that I probably wouldn't get a 50% loan to value mortgage on that because of the mine shafts.
I'd argue as well, you're buying something that won't appreciate in line with other properties in the same area.
Well, it wouldn't appreciate because people still can't get financing.
Still the same, yeah.
So it doesn't go up.
Yeah.
And people are put off by stuff like that. Listen, they've all been capped. They don't really pose any problem. Very few have ever collapsed or anything. But if you hear the word mine shaft in the garden, everyone goes, ah.
Yeah, you're almost done for it, yeah.
But there's something that we might touch on in the modules, might not, because it's quite advanced, maybe in a later date. You can sell these type of properties on rent-to-buys and instalment vendor finance type agreements where no mortgages are needed. And that's when things get a little bit complex, but completely doable.
This really is touching on the trading element of things, isn't it, this? And looking at flipping that sort of thing in an auction as well, isn't it?
That's a fantastic strategy. Right now, perfect as well. Buying stuff that nobody wants to buy, buying it for cheap and just chucking it in the auction room, and you'll get hot investors all over it.
Yeah. And I don't see any problem with that. I mean, you could say there's something immoral about that, but as long as you're upfront and honest about it.
Well, what's immoral about it?
Well, people would say you're selling crap, but it's in the auction pack, isn't it? You know, you can't not put that in the auction pack, can you?
No.
And at the end of the day, if it's being sold to a family, for example, still make a fantastic family home.
Yeah. A lot of problem properties go into auction rooms, so like anything with structural problems.
Exactly.
Or
that's sort of what I'm getting at. People say, "Oh, is it a bit immoral trying to sell something which has got a problem with it?"
You know, you're in an auction room. You know, there's generally speaking, there's going to be something wrong. Otherwise, it would have gone through a normal route.
Yeah. I suppose you know, some would argue that some people going into the auction room for the first time might not be aware of that.
I don't care.
Yeah,
is the answer. That's just the brutal reality of business. Is that you've watched Homes Under the Hammer. Most people would have watched Homes Under the Hammer. What they don't show you on there is all the associated fees that are coming with the auction purchase. Usually, there's at least 3 or 4, 5, even more £1,000 on top of what they're showing you on these. The numbers they run through. They don't show you the sales fees. They don't show you the stamp duty. Nothing like that. All they show you is the gross figures, and everybody's just like, "Oh God, they've made 20 grand profit in a straightforward buy and sell." Doesn't work like that.
No,
not at all. Not at all. I did one where
there's a few guys, isn't there?
Yeah,
that literally
that is their model.
Yeah, that's all they do, isn't it? Probably go out and spend, I don't know, £1 million over a quarter, for example, and then put them all into the following auction, don't they?
That's right.
It's a great, if you've got the capital, I think it's a great little strategy. It really is.
And there's different auction houses. The ones that are, there's not many eyes on, you can buy properties in them, chuck them in the big ones, and you can make a quick turnaround.
Cracking strategy.
That's another way of doing it.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up that, doesn't it? Do you think sales and negotiation, is anything else that we want to add just in this introductory video?
Not really. I think it's just about being a decent human being, really. That's just
being honest, yeah. There we go.
It's lacking. Very often it's lacking, unfortunately.
I think that's it, mate. Unless you've got something else to add. I mean, I've got a couple of things I was going to add at the very end. Can say those now. Reference some books that sort of align with what we've been speaking about. I'll start with Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. That sort of links in with the sort of personal development mindset part of this video. It's basically targeting that one thing that you've been avoiding for a while and getting that done early on in your day. And if you can do that and achieve that, then your day then, moving forward, will be plain sailing.
Nice.
Real good book that. I think most people will take a lot from that.
It's not very big either. It's quite small, so it's easy to get through.
Have you got any other examples, mate? Mindset wise, I know.
Negotiation. There's one called Never Split the Difference. You know, when you say 10, 20, oh, let's meet in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a common...
Yeah.
The book
Stand
is
your
never
ground.
split the difference.
Stand your ground.
Sometimes it's a good book, just because it's a lot of bits about psychology. It's a good book to listen to. And there's another one, Influence. I think it's The Power of Persuasion or something like that. No, Influence and Persuasion. That's what the book's called. By Robert Cialdini. He's a psychologist. That's a good book as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the efficiency route, a classic book. I took a lot from this, and again, I think a lot of you will do so also, which is 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Basically a book about compartmentalising your day and getting more done in a short amount of time, basically. Fantastic book. Yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty much it, mate. Anything
let's
else
wrap
we
it
want to
up.
add?
No, if you haven't already registered your interest in Thinking Wealth, go to the link in the description below, thinkingwealth.co.uk/subscribe. We are still in pre-launch. We're ramping up some of these podcasts. We're going to be releasing one a week at least, including the YouTube videos. We're going to start having conversations with people now as well in certain different fields. And yeah, we're starting to pump all the videos onto the hub now. So all being well, we'll be done by the end of June. That's what we're targeting.
That's the plan.
If the Lord is willing and the creek don't rise, we'll be done by the end of June. So that'll be very exciting. We've already got a lot of interest. And also follow us on Instagram and everything, because we share a few little tips. We did
this week, haven't we?
The last couple of days we've shared a couple of cryptocurrency,
Picks.
Picks. They're not suggestions or anything like that, but we've just put a couple of trades that we're putting in. And the one that we shared this morning's done 40% in 2 days. Very few real estate properties do anything close to that.
Very few investments do close to that in that space of time. It's unheard of, isn't it?
£1,000 investment, you've made 400 quid in 36 hours. You can't really
beat that, can you, mate?
No. And
I think the idea being the reason why we wanted to put that bonus content out there was obviously to prove what we're saying that we can do for you, and to also be in a position potentially that you've paid off your first annual subscription payment service within the pre-launch period, before it even actually officially launches at the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
You've then got a year's subscription for nothing.
That's what we want.
That was the idea behind that.
This is what it's all about. We want to. I like the word. I come up with it earlier. Democratizing wealth. What do you think about that?
Nice.
Wealth for the masses.
Yeah.
Not in the form of socialism and all that mess, though.
Champagne socialism.
Not in champagne socialism. We're talking real. Anybody can get their hands on substantial money to set yourself up. For future generations, because the world is vastly changing, and we hardly know anything in the reality of what's always moving. We love to learn and progress and everything, so that's what this is all about. We'll try and be at the forefront of all these movements and keep updating everything that we're putting out, because this ain't a short-term thing for us. This is going to be a long-term thing,
ever evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There we go then, mate.
So, thinkingwealth.co.uk/subscribe. Check Instagram. Check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe to that, and click the bell thing, which notifies you when we release stuff. That'd be great. So you know when we're releasing videos. Very new. We've got about 3 subscribers on YouTube. I think we released it about 3 days ago or something.
Yeah.
So any subscription at the moment is fantastic. We really do appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching.
Bye bye.